Hi guys, welcome to the first ever Young and Limitless podcast. These sessions are initially going to be broken into two 15-minute segments. And the reason is because my mini audience have said that that's what they'd like me to do. And originally, this was set up for young women aged 14 to 18. However, when my nephew said, Auntie Esther, what about me? I then said, okay, so it doesn't matter your age, your gender, your race, your ethnicity, blah, blah, blah. All that matters is that you are either young or you are young at heart and you want to make a difference in the world in which you live. And if that's you, then please listen and participate in the podcast. In today's session, I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about who I am, where I've come from, and why this podcast is so important to me. So let me start with giving you a snippet of my family's history, starting with my nanny, who was born nearly 100 years ago. So Mum's mum was married when she was 16 and had her first babe when she was 18. And I think without the exception of geography, there's probably not much difference between the way that my nan grew up and the way that your great nan grew up. My nanny didn't really have a choice of who she married, where she lived, what she did, if she had a career. She really didn't have a choice of anything. And she wasn't brought up to have her own opinion or even to have her own voice. And when my mum was little, she distinctively remembers hearing Nanny say, you need to get a good education so you can hold your head up high and have your own opinion, make your own choices, and be happy. So mum remembers that. And when she was 19, she was sent to England, which admittedly wasn't really her choice, but she decided to make the best of that situation. So that was her choice. Whilst in England in the 70s, she did learn to form her own opinions and to make her own choices. But however, due to society's numerous racist institutions, it took a long time for her to find her own voice in a nice way that wasn't scary, because she was a bit scary when I was younger. But it's okay, guys. Mum has given me full permission to say absolutely anything that I want to, so it's okay. And earlier this summer, Mum was clearing through one of her cupboards and she came across an old case of mine. Okay, yes, I do still have some junk at Mum and Dad's house. But anyway, in that case was an old journal of mine. Now, I've been writing since I was a little child, and I've been properly journaling since I was in my first year of secondary school. Now, if you'd met me back then, back in the day, when I was probably similar age to you, you'd have thought, oh, Esther looks fine. She looks normal. She looks all right. But the truth was that I had lots of self-doubt and very little self-esteem and really didn't think very much of myself at all. I'm just being honest with you guys. I think I was a master of covering it up. I was a high functioning fraud. I just hid in academia. I loved studying. And yeah, so yeah, I just didn't really think much of myself. And as I read through my little green notebook, that was in the case, I remembered why I didn't have a voice. And maybe like a number of you who don't have family in the UK, I didn't have anybody I could turn to talk to about how I was feeling and what was going on at home. So in fact, the only place I had to express my feelings was in my notebooks. And It wasn't until I went to sixth form that I started to form and express my own opinions and make my own choices. See, the story's getting a bit happier now. And although it's taken me most of my adult life to figure out who I truly am and to know that I am enough and to know that I deserve to be listened to, I am in that place. You know, thankfully, I was born at a time when I am able to choose who I am and what I do and what my own career path is, who I marry or choose not to marry, and live where I want to live. And so I can say I'm a strong, independent woman with a powerful voice. It took me a long time to get here, but I did get here. And I think I just want to lend a hand to all of those younger than me. And to let you know that I think and I really believe that change is possible, not just for me and my family, but because it's happened so many times in history already. When enough people band together and make an active decision to pull together in the same direction, absolutely anything is possible. Let me give you some examples. So, like nearly 100 years ago, women were campaigning for the right to vote. Hey, they changed society. And then you had the civil rights movements in the 60s and ongoing, but they changed society too. And then in the 90s, when I was coming of age, you had the international resistance against apartheid, which for me was all about Nelson Mandela. And right now you have the whole environmental movement, which you'll hear about next week. So if you were to ask me what my biggest challenge was when it comes to setting up this podcast, it came from a young woman who said to me, Esther, so you marched in the 90s, in the late 90s, and you did stuff, but why did you stop? What have you been doing all these years? And she made me stop and reflect. And I said to her that I stopped because I had bought into the thinking of the time, which was that in order to affect change, it was better to be part of the system so you could make the change from within. So for the last 19 years, I've been working for the county council, and admittedly, I have, had great success in helping numerous young people. But as time ticked on and resources got scarcer, it did make me question why I was being paid the money I was being paid, and I wasn't really making the difference I wanted to make. So earlier this year, I left my job and I retrained as a rapid transformational therapist. And now I've decided to turn my hand at becoming a podcaster. And the truth is, guys, all I really want you to know deep down is that your thoughts and your opinions do count. And that there are many, many different ways of expressing yourself. And that you have immense power of choice when it comes to what happens in your own future and the future of the communities in which you live. So there we go, guys. It would be great to get some feedback from you and hear what you think, and who inspires you to keep going when you really, really, really don't feel like it. And if you think there's anybody who'd be great for me to interview, of course they have to have something to do with what I've just been talking about, then please let me know by using the link below, or if you type in Young Limitless Podcast, all one word, on Instagram, then you'll find me there. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening right through to the end. And I'm really, really looking forward to sharing my thoughts with you again next time. So that's it. Bye-bye.